Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Machem Laira online smicha. With the Yom Tov of Hanukkah approaching, it's a good time to refresh our halachas that are especially for some of the minhagim that we do on Hanukkah. One of the customary foods that we eat in Hanukkah is donuts or oily food, latkes. Now, even though in Shulchan Aruch it's mentioned that you eat dairy on Hanukkah, because that's how Yehudis dealt with the enemy general, but customary became that we eat oily food. So in Israel, it's very much to eat sufganiyot, which is donuts. Many other places they have latkes, potato latkes, again, fried oily food. Now, there's actually a reason what's the benefit of a mezainis versus a hadama, the donut, the mezainis, and the latkes hadama, because over there you also say alamichya, but that's for another time. I'm actually going to talk for a minute, and this is a discussion you can have for all year around, and that is, what bracha do you make really when you eat a donut, a fried donut? What bracha do you make? A bracha rishayna, the bracha before you eat the donut, and what bracha do you make when you're done eating the donut? And the question is, why is it even discussion? Isn't it different? Isn't it just like a piece of cake or cookie? And we all know for cakes and cookies, you make a mezainis, you make an after bracha ala michya. To the first glance, you're right. Donuts should be no different than cake and pastry, halachically categorized as pas haba b'kisnin, which for both of them we know that a bracha is a mezainis. So you have a donut, you make a bar min mezainis. However, if you know how a donut is made, in truth, it's completely different than cookies and cake. Cookies and cake are made from a batter. You mix it together and it becomes a batter, and that's how you make cookies and cake. Whereas a donut are made yeast dough. So it's very much more closer to bread. And by bread, you don't make a mezainis in bread, you make a hamaitzi on bread. So the fact that a donut is made different than cakes and different than cookies, made more similar to bread, should you have to make a hamaitzi on a donut? What makes donuts different than bread is that donuts are deep fried while bread is baked. So the fact that a donut is deep fried and not baked, does that change the status of not being called bread, being called a cookie or a cake, which is mezainis? So this is actually in Shulchan Aruch. In the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, we find it in two places. We find it a discussion in Kuf Samaches 168, and also in Seder Bichas Hanenim, Perik Beis. Over there we find two opinions. The first opinion holds that dough that is fried in oil is inherently not bread. And because it's not bread, because that's not the way you bake bread, it's not a moitzi. The second opinion, however, holds that it's still bread, and even though it's fried, you make a moitzi. The Ramah and the Mechaber both agree that the halacha is like the first opinion, that because it's fried, it's not what bread looks like, how bread is made, and therefore it's mezainis. And therefore the common practice is that for a donut, because it's fried, you make a mezainis. Now, we know that even for items that are not hamaitzi, if you eat enough of it, if you eat a lot of it, that you become full, you might have to make hamaitzi. So here is interesting that where the donut is different. Even if someone were to eat a lot of donuts, enough donuts that it would be considered a suda, the bracha would still stay mezainis according to these opinions, because only by cakes and pastries they require a moitzi when you eat enough. Donuts, because it's nishtahi nishtaher, it's really not bread because it's fried. It's also not cakes and cookies because it's made with yeast and dough, different than cakes. So it doesn't make a difference that the fact that you're eating enough. Now, how about if the person wants to be a Yerushalayim? A Yerushalayim meaning to say he's God-fearing, and here there's a gray area what bracha to make. A gray area, there's different opinions. I understand the Mechab and the Ramah lean towards making a mezainis. Should he refrain from eating donuts by its own? Should he prefer to eat it only in the middle of a meal where you're anyways making hamoitzi because you're washing in the bread? So that's a discussion if that's something that you should prefer to do. And obviously if you're doing it part of a meal, it's better. But the fact is, we do see people are eating jelly donuts or Hanukkah donuts on their own, even though it's not part of the meal. What bracha achroina do we make? What bracha achroina, the bracha after the donut? Even though a minute ago we just said it might be considered close to what bread is, and for bread you have to make the birchas hamazon. The common practice is that you make a ala michya, and that is satisfactory for the jelly donut or any other donut.